Tasia is the chief assassin of a secret organization. Through brain implantation technology, she is able to transfer her consciousness into other people's bodies and control them to carry out assassination missions. This time, to complete an assassination, she enters the body of Holly. On what seems like an ordinary day, Tasia inhabits Holly's body and follows her partner to a nightclub. Passing the dining counter, Holly looks thoughtfully at the knife on the table. Then, she quickly walks up to the target and, without hesitation, raises the knife in her hand and stabs it into the man's jugular vein. Blood pours out instantly. The crowd panics and runs away, but this doesn't stop Holly from continuing her actions. She continues to stab the man, and the blood spreads across the floor. Her pure white shoes are stained with blood. She doesn't care at all. Turning around to pull a prepared gun from her bag, Holly points the gun at herself, intending to commit suicide, as only then can Tasia's consciousness return to its original body. However, for some unknown reason, Holly's own will to survive awakens, and her consciousness resists, preventing the suicide. At that moment, the police arrive. In order for her consciousness to successfully escape, Tasia shoots the police officers. Using the police's counterattack as a distraction, she successfully kills Holly, and her consciousness returns to her original body. Every time the body she inhabits dies, Tasia feels it deeply. Sometimes, there are severe physical reactions like nausea and vomiting. To avoid the assassin being affected by the original host's consciousness, the organization conducts a series of professional tests on the assassins after every mission to ensure they return to normal. Tasia's test results this time are perfect. Her superior tells her to prepare for a big mission. The client this time is generous, and it's a rare, large-scale mission. Tasia expresses a wish to return home and relax for a while. Before arriving home, Tasia practices what tone and expression she should use when talking to her husband and son.
Hi, darling. Hi, darling. Oh, hi, darling. What have you got there? Michael. I'm absolutely starving.
Having prepared herself, she gathers the courage and walks in. The door opens, and her son warmly greets her. Tasia spends a relaxed and happy time at home with her family. That evening, while being intimate with her husband, Tasia's mind drifts to the images of blood flowing from the neck of her assassination target. Realizing something is wrong, Tasia immediately reports to her superior and requests to return to work. Her superior analyzes her current situation thoroughly and encourages her as well. She tells her that once she retires, her position will be hers to take. Hearing this, Tasia can't help but be tempted. After preparing herself mentally, Tasia decides to take on this new assignment. This time, she is to inhabit the body of a man named Colin. The targets for assassination are his father-in-law, John, and his girlfriend, Ava. This mission is particularly difficult as it's her first time inhabiting a man's body and executing an assassination in such a manner. After discussing the time for the assassination, Tasia begins repeatedly watching videos of Colin to familiarize herself with his speech and habits to avoid arousing suspicion from those around him. The difficulty of this mission is high, and no mistakes are allowed. When the scheduled time arrives, Tasia begins the consciousness transfer. At first, she struggles with adapting to Colin's body. Tasia hides in the bathroom to secretly train, in order to adapt to her new body more quickly. Although Tasia has made thorough preparations, Ava still notices something odd. Thinking quickly, Tasia manages to brush it off with a few words. Before the assassination, Tasia has a few days to continue adjusting to Colin's body, making sure she can move and act naturally. During this period, she encountered many awkward situations, such as when a colleague greeted her, but Tasia had no idea what the relationship was between the colleague and the original owner of the body. She can only go along with the colleague's words. Luckily, Tasia is experienced and doesn't let the colleague notice anything strange. Perhaps due to her short time inhabiting the body, Colin experiences intense eye pain at work, and fragmented memories of lost consciousness flash before him. He touches the fragments with his fingers, and they merge with his body, causing severe physical anomalies. In the end, Tasia's consciousness triumphs over Colin's, but this incident is noticed by the organization's monitoring personnel. Tasia reports the situation honestly, suspecting that a new technician had injected an excessive amount of stimulant during the transfer, causing the issue. After work, Colin returns home and finds Ava having a gathering with her friends. The original host knew them, and one of them had a romantic history with Colin, but Tasia doesn't know about this, making the situation somewhat difficult for her. Though the friends don't notice anything wrong, Ava, who spends daily time with Colin, feels that something is off. To ease Ava's concerns, Colin says all the right things and even gets intimate with her. However, another anomaly occurs. Tasia's consciousness starts to scatter. She struggles to concentrate on Colin's body, though the impact is still minor at this stage. Soon, the time for the assassination of John arrives. Tasia, inhabiting Colin's body, gets dressed and joins Ava for the evening party. Ava introduces Colin to her father, John. John has always thought Colin is unworthy of his daughter and makes cutting remarks in front of others, giving Colin the perfect excuse to get him drunk. Colin pretends to be drunk and then approaches John, pretending to cause a scene, looking for an opportunity to argue with him. Eventually, John orders his men to throw Colin out of the party. Everything so far is following Tasia's plan. After the party ends, Tasia, inhabiting Colin's body, storms into John's house. John is sitting at the table drinking. Colin calmly sits down and places a handgun on the table. John, dismissive, tells him to leave, then stands up as if to walk away. At this moment, Colin seizes the opportunity, using a nearby stick to strike John, eventually stabbing the stick into John's eye. The sounds of the violent struggle attract Ava, who hasn't yet left the party. Tasia picks up the handgun on the table and shoots at her. With this, the media will believe that Colin killed his future father-in-law out of anger from long-term humiliation by him and his girlfriend. Once the anger dissipates and the bloodbath settles, the police will assume it was a suicide due to guilt. Without investigating further, the mission reaches its final step. It's time for Colin to kill himself. But the same issue arises. The host's powerful survival instincts cause his consciousness to regain control of the body. As Colin's consciousness slowly awakens, he immediately leaves John's house and walks past a clothing donation station. There, he changes his bloody clothes and pulls a needle-like chip out of his scalp. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, Tasia experiences the loss of control and vomits blood. The organization immediately evaluates her situation and determines that she has suffered permanent damage. The longer she stays in a host body, the more dangerous it becomes. The organization contacts Colin, hoping to discuss the situation with him. Colin hangs up the phone immediately and runs to hide at his girlfriend's friend's house. Now, inside Colin's body, there are two consciousnesses, Colin's and Tasia's. The two consciousnesses begin to battle for control. For a moment, Tasia's consciousness takes over. She grabs the gun and shoots a woman who was taking a shower in the bathroom. As night falls, a colleague comes to visit Colin, pretending to comfort him. When Colin lets his guard down, the colleague suddenly shoots at him. It turns out that the colleague is from Tasia's organization. The organization sends someone to stabilize Tasia's consciousness, ensuring it takes over. However, things don't go as planned. Colin's consciousness slowly approaches from a distance, intending to kill Tasia's consciousness. Unexpectedly, the two incomplete consciousnesses merge into one. Colin awakens and looks at the corpse of the colleague he has killed, confused. Then, Tasia's consciousness tries to regain control and prepares to kill herself, but Colin's consciousness is strong enough to prevent her from doing so. A gunshot rings out, indicating that Colin's consciousness has won. At that moment, Colin sees a scene he has never encountered before and decides to investigate. The closer he gets to his home, the stronger Tasia's consciousness becomes. But in the end, Colin's consciousness prevails. That evening, Colin arrives at Tasia's house, pretending to be her friend to gain entry. Once the door opens, Colin changes his expression, pointing the gun at Tasia's husband and threatening him to reveal Tasia's whereabouts, so he can regain control of his body. It seems the threat works, as Tasia's consciousness begins to surface and communicates with him. Seizing a moment when Colin is distracted, Tasia's husband fights back. However, he is quickly killed by Colin in a flurry of strikes. Tasia then tries to take control of the body and shoot herself, but Colin's consciousness fiercely suppresses her, preventing her from completing the suicide. At this moment, a small knife slices Colin's jugular vein. To Colin's surprise, the one who shoots back is Tasia's son. Tasia desperately tries to stop everything but can only watch as her son is shot by her own hands. In a final twist, before dying, her son says the same phrase as the original host.
Pull me out.
With the host's death, Tasia returns to her own body. The film ends here. The assassination is complete, but Tasia has suffered severe damage and lost her family. The family members, who were originally unaware, have now secretly had their consciousness taken over by the organization. What will Tasia do next? Will she become cold-blooded and merciless, or will she seek revenge for her family and flee to a distant place? The ending remains open-ended, leaving room for speculation about her future path.